just getting the right view. Yeah. So starting with the stages. Start Meher Baba Ki Jai. Starting from page 102 on the electronic copy, 99 in the physical book. Second paragraph, first page. Visualize a man with eyes completely shut and in sound sleep. This man is completely unconscious and oblivious to all that surrounds him. Now, picture at the same time the original divine sound sleep state of God as he is in the original absolute vacuum of the God is state. In both cases, that is, both in God's formless state and God's state of human form as man or woman, there is complete absence of consciousness, and in both cases, absolute vacuum prevails. Simultaneously, also picture the total absence of consciousness in both cases as comparable to the completely shut eyes of a man in sound sleep. Second stage, visualize the next stage of the man as being still asleep, but beginning to open his eyes very, very slightly because he's just disturbed from his sound sleep state, and the sleep of absolute vacuum is shattered by the emergence of the dormant impressions now commencing to project through the subconscious of the man, which also lay latent in him in his sound sleep state. Because of the projection of the varied impressions through the subconsciousness of this man, he now begins to experience dreams while still asleep, although no longer in the sound sleep state, because the absolute vacuum no longer prevails. For the man to commence experiencing dreams means that in his initial stage of the semi conscious state, he begins to experience through his subconsciousness the dormant impressions of the nothingness in sub-subtle forms. The man now is not only in the initial stage of the semi-conscious state and is not only beginning to experience dreams, but he is also starting to get involved in the dreams by beginning to associate with the creatures in subsubtle forms of his own creation. Thus, the projection of impressions, which lay dormant in the subconsciousness of man, makes man play the role of the hero or the creator in the drama of his dreams. Because this man, in this dream state, has only just stirred from his sound sleep and has just attained the semi conscious state, picture this man experiencing the dreams as one who is starting now to open his eyes very, very slightly. The beginning of the opening of the eyes resembles the advent of the first trace of consciousness as subconsciousness manifested in man. While visualizing this state of man as a parallel, picture likewise that state of God in which he has just stirred from his original divine sound sleep state. God now only begins to experience the divine dream state or the creator state as soon as the most finite impression of the nothingness is projected through the divine subconsciousness of God. Both of these, that is, the nothingness and the divine subconsciousness of God, were latent as of nothing in the original state of God as the everything. God, now in the initial stage of the divine semi conscious state, just begins to identify himself with the creatures of his own creation, that is, his own divine dream, through the infinite divine subconsciousness, which just begins to project the creation, that is, the impressions of the nothingness. Third stage, visualize the third state of the man as still asleep, but with half open eyes, because a man in this state now completely experiences the semi conscious state. In order to picture this complete semi conscious state of the still sleeping man, continue to visualize him with his eyes very slightly open, representing the beginning of the semi-conscious state. In this state, as said above, he starts to experience dreams due to the false, illusory impressions of the nothingness which were collected subconsciously and are now ejected out through the projection of the subconsciousness, giving rise to the beginning of the dream state of man. But as the dreams continue and as they gather momentum due to the intensity of the projection of multifarious and varied dormant impressions through the subconsciousness of the man, he gets more and more involved subconsciously. As a result, he now firmly associates himself with the creatures of his own creation in the dreams, and he is completely in the semi conscious state. This semi conscious state of the man represents that state which is neither the complete sound sleep state without consciousness nor the complete awake state with the full consciousness. This state, so to speak, is the semi awake state. Now visualize this third state of the man as the state of semi consciousness represented by the half opened eyes, experiencing the dreams more forcefully and much more intently. While visualizing this state of the man, picture as a parallel that state of God in the divine dream state where God is experiencing a semi conscious state. At this stage, God, as the creator of creation, experiences the creator state through the infinite divine semi conscious state. Here, the infinite divine subconsciousness, intensively projecting creation into being, continually affirms God's identification with the creatures of his own creation. This gives rise to infinite experiences of a more forceful nature in the divine dream of God, when God actually finds himself as the creatures of his creation. Fourth stage. Visualize the fourth state of man as that in which, as that when, as that when start again. Visualize the fourth state of the man as that in which he is still asleep, but trying gradually to open wider his already half opened eyes in accordance with the greater and greater intensity of the projection of the more impressions through the subconscious of the man still in his dream state. Here, the man is not only in a semi conscious state, but is verging on being fully conscious and is about to realize his awake state. Now, paralleling this, picture also that state of God in the fourth stage of his divine dream state. Compare the fourth state of the man in the semi conscious state with a very critical stage in the divine dream state of God. Here, the projection of infinite impressions through the infinite divine subconsciousness of God is so intensified in the course of the cosmic evolution of the consciousness of God that this projection is about to be so completely fixed or so perfectly focused onto the infinity of nothingness as to identify God with his own most perfect image in his divine dream of creation. Thus, at this stage in the divine dream state, God, the Creator, is about to identify himself with a human form after innumerable identifications with all and everything that is in his creation, including inanimate and animate objects. God, in the divine infinite semi conscious state, is now nearing the verge of gaining full consciousness concurrently with his identification with human form. Visualize the fifth stage. I have a question here. Maybe I'll go with that and then we can continue. So the description of this waking of this human being is just an allegorical reference, right? So what probably happens in the first 1 minute is expressed through almost four stages in this expression by Baba. Is that right? Am I getting this right? Is my question clear?
I think it is correct.
Okay. So it's basically just to give us a parallel like that. Okay. Fifth stage. Visualize the fifth stage of the man as being still asleep, but with eyes now almost open. The man in this state is still in the semi conscious or semi awake state, experiencing the dreams at their height, in their final stage, in which the impressions are projected through his subconsciousness with the greatest intensity. The zenith is reached both by the intensified projection of the impressions in much less hazy forms or in greater degree of realism and by relevant dreams which are dreamt in a greater degree of clarity or in their ripe stage. This is the stage in dreams when the subsubtle forms of nothingness have reached their zenith and appear more clearly. The dreams at their height now must stop because the zenith reached by the projections of impressions through the subconsciousness of the man is at this point sufficient to excite and urge the emergence or manifestation of full consciousness at any moment. This state of the man, almost fully conscious, may therefore be pictured as a man with his eyes almost wide open, though still asleep. This is the stage reached a split second. This is this this is the stage reached a split second before the man has roused from his dream state to become wide awake. This is the completely matured, semi-conscious state of subconsciousness. While visualizing the fifth state of the man side by side with it, picture that state of God in his divine dream state, where God is experiencing the completely matured state of the divine, infinite, semi conscious state and is almost about to gain full consciousness. At its zenith, the intensity of the projection of infinite impressions through the divine, infinite subconsciousness of God has almost ceased to identify God semi consciously with the last of the creatures in the cosmic evolution of creation and forms. With divine infinite subconsciousness, God is in his divine infinite semi conscious state, which, when almost matured, identified God with infinite impressions of animal forms. But now, in the fifth stage of the divine dream state, where God is in the completely matured, divine, infinite semi conscious state, God can no longer be made to identify with impressions of animal forms, even though they are intensively and infinitely projected through His divine, infinite subconsciousness. At this point, a stage is reached in the divine dream state, wherein, with the projection to infinity of impressions projected infinitely through the divine, infinite subconsciousness of God at its zenith, this infinite projection has almost identified God with a human form, and God is almost fully conscious. Sixth stage. Visualize the sixth state of the man as having completely awakened from his sleep and as having his eyes completely wide open. In this state, the man is no longer in the semi-conscious state, dreaming the dreams which are nothing but the hazy and faint projection of the dormant impressions of nothingness which was stored in the subconsciousness of the man and realized through his subconsciousness in subsubtle forms of nothingness. This is the stage in the state of the man where he has just awakened completely, but albeit he is fully conscious, he is not conscious of his self as yet. The man, in no longer in a sound sleep and semi conscious states, and with full consciousness gained, is pictured now with wide open eyes. This means the end of the dream or the end of the false state of man where he experienced the latent or dormant nothing manifested in its raw state as nothingness in the shape of hazy and faint subsubtle forms. The man now in the awake state no longer experiences or sees the nothingness as something hazy or faint as he used to see it in his dream state. With his eyes just opened wide and fully, he is dazed and stares vacantly at things that now confront his sight more realistically. The man now observes things that confront his sight as if he were seeing the ripe, the clear, and the fully developed forms of the same nothingness that he saw in his dream as raw hazy, and faint. In this state, the man sees, as it were, yet another dream, but he sees it much more realistically than the dream from which he awakened a split second before. This is the sixth stage in the state of man, where the man, dazed, simply experiences the sight of things much more realistically, but still as if it were just a vacant dream. That is, the man sees more forcefully and realistically, but still vacantly, the dream of his dream state, giving him the sense of yet another dream within the dream of his dream state. This state corresponds to the few seconds immediately after a man has awakened and cannot help but see at first the objects that come within range of his vision rather than his own self. This is because as soon as his eyes open after the sleep state, the spontaneous opening of the long shut eyes creates in him a sort of dazed state. And although the man has awakened and is fully conscious, he is still unaware of his self or of its position in relation to the objects surrounding his very self. He simply stares at the objects upon which his gaze falls. While visualizing the sixth state of the man, make a parallel of it by picturing in the same way that state of God as of that instant when God has just identified himself with a human form and has just gained full consciousness. At that moment, God is no longer in the divine, infinite, semi conscious state, dreaming the original divine dream, which was the projection of the latent nothing released by the divine, infinite subconsciousness as the creation or as completely evolved nothingness. In a sixth state, God is now out of his original divine sound sleep and his divine, infinite, semi-conscious states because he is now fully conscious. Here, God is conscious not of his unlimited self or his infinite, unbounded, and unlimited triune nature of infinite power, knowledge, and bliss, but is just fully conscious. God is fully conscious now, and in the sense that God is consciously absorbed in the nothingness, which now manifests through his full consciousness as clear and well defined, realistic gross states, apparently demonstrating their infinite aspects ad infinitum. Seventh stage. Visualize the seventh state of the man where he has his eyes wide open and is completely and fully awake in the sense that he now asserts his limited self or ego and is conscious of his human form or the gross body, of his surroundings, and of the gross world. Though this man is fully conscious and completely aware of the gross and experiences the gross world in full, yet he is still unconscious of the limited energy and mind of which he indirectly makes unconscious use. Being aware of their aspects through the limitations of his gross body alone, in this state, the man is fully conscious, but gross consciously, and is fully aware of himself as a man in the world of his surroundings. The man is not only completely aware of the gross world and of all things in the world which confront his view, but he also actually experiences them by involving his fully conscious and fully aware state of limited self in them. He now recognizes the objects of the gross world through his five predominant gross senses and differentiates them one from another using the discriminately or indiscriminately, automatically and indirectly utilizing energy and mind, which are now fully developed in attaching to them their relative values as and when his limited self asserts in his awake state before he passes away once again in sound sleep. In the awake state, it is the mind that sees through the gross eyes, hears through the gross ears, smells with the gross nose, eats through the gross mouth, and acts through the gross limbs. In the dream state, it is the mind that sees through the subtle eyes, subsubtle eyes, hears through the subsubtle ears, and so on. In the sound sleep state, it is the mind that is at peace and at rest. While visualizing the seventh state of the man, picture likewise That state of God where God identifies himself completely with the human form and gains full and complete consciousness. God now no longer dreams divinely, the original divine dream, but with full consciousness now completely gained, he experiences falsely the complete awareness. This awareness makes God falsely aware of that original nothing which was latent in his own state of infinitude and which, with the present gain of full consciousness, makes God experience that nothing realistically as the everything, infinite and real. In other words, God, when he was in the divine, infinite, semi conscious state, was experiencing the latent nothing manifested as the nothingness as his divine dream. Now, when God is in a fully conscious state, he apparently experiences that nothing not as the divine dream of nothingness, but he now actually experiences the awareness of this nothing as the everything. In this stage, with the advent of awareness, although God in the state of creator has stopped dreaming divinely the original divine dream, yet because of his having gained full consciousness and complete awareness, God now becomes completely aware of the original divine dream, not as a dream, but as something realistic, not as illusion, but as reality, not as the nothing, but as the everything, preserving the nothing that he created. Thus, it is that although God gained full consciousness and experienced complete awareness in the state of creator, this very awareness of God the creator proves a deception and makes God now experience his own divine dream or the creation of the nothing as reality while he identifies himself with the human being. In short, God, the Creator, as the God in man, though now fully conscious and completely aware and out of his original divine dream state, yet finds himself not as God, but as man with complete gross consciousness, experiencing the creation of his own original divine dream state as reality. Here it is to be said that the God in man continues to experience in the awake state with the awareness of false reality the vacant divine dream as yet another dream of God within that original divine dream. This is the most alluring stage in the state of God when God, with full consciousness gained, God is led astray by the false awareness attained to identify himself not with his unlimited and infinite self, but with his most perfect image in the shape of the human being, while God continues to experience the vacant divine dream. Although it appears as the most fantastic imagination, yet it is a fact that the very life of man is the veil that shrouds the reality of the eternal existence of God. It is the irony of divine fate that God gets lost in man to find himself. And the instant that man gets lost in God, God realizes his reality as existence, eternal and infinite. It's, it's a beautiful line. I want to read this again. It is the irony of divine fate that God gets lost in man to find himself. And the instant that man gets lost in God, God realizes his reality as existence, eternal and infinite. In other words, infinite God becomes infinitely absorbed in his own infinitely perfect image, intently seeking his infinity. And although God does gain full consciousness through it, he does not realize the reality of his own eternal, infinite existence in it. But the instant the full consciousness thus gained ceases to identify God with the infinite reflection of his infinitely perfect image, this image vanishes from the consciousness of God, and God spontaneously and automatically, consciously realizes his own identity as God. the infinite existence, and finds that he alone ever was, always is, and eternally will remain the only reality. Thus, God, in the man state, at first realizing himself as man, asserted his limited aspects through the limited self or the limited ego, the limited mind, the limited energy, and the finite gross body. Then, eventually and ultimately, realizing himself as God, he manifests his unlimited, unbounded, infinite trio nature of infinite knowledge, infinite power, and infinite bliss through his divine, unlimited self. While depicting through the seven different primary stages the process of unfoldment of the latent consciousness of God in his original, unconscious, divine sound sleep state, as compared with the seven different primary states of man, gaining consciousness right from his unconscious sound sleep state to the state wherein he gains full consciousness and wakes up completely with wide open eyes. It is found that this is the process of the evolution of consciousness of God, which eventually identifies the fully conscious God with the fully conscious man after identifying God with all and every and with all and everything inanimate and animate in the drama of the divine dream of creation. There's a footnote 18, and as planned, we will jump to understanding creation. So, if anybody can. This is still the states of God, right? Anybody can help me with the physical page number? That'd be helpful.
237 in the print.
237 in print.
Yes, bottom of that.
Okay. Okay. It's not called creation. It's called 5 spiritual facts. Okay. 5 spiritual facts. I hope everybody's found it on the physical book. Ordinary human being, man as man, sees himself in everyone and everything. Peer in the 6th plane. Man as man sees God in everyone and everything. Majboob in the 7th plane. God as God sees himself in everyone and everything. Kutub, God as man sees himself simultaneously in everyone and everything. Savior, God as God and man sees himself simultaneously in everyone and everything. Meher Baba.
Okay. So this is the developmental stages.
Correct. But then this is not to be misunderstood with the planes. So it's just it's not. I mean, the Kutub is obviously in the 7th plane. Is he? Kutub and Savior. I don't know. So this is overlapping. These facts are overlapping with the planes. Here the Pir is, he says, is in the 6th plane, and Maz'ub is in the 7th plane. Anyway, so let's get back to the main reading. Any questions? Any comments?
As I see this, so what he has explained as development of or opening up of the eye of the God, it is a process of evolution. and we are getting to understand the difference between awareness and consciousness.
Correct.
Consciousness is different from awareness. Awareness is a part of illusion, where we are aware of everything around us, which is false, as the real. Whereas consciousness drives us towards the reality, which is away from this illusion. That difference is becoming clearer, right?
Apparently, yes, correct. Well said. So I'll continue. Page 108. Right from the unconscious state compared to the divine sound sleep state, until full and complete consciousness is gained in the man state, compared to the wide open eyes of man experiencing the gross world, God remains one, indivisible, infinite, formless, and eternally all pervading. But it is the all pervading, infinite nature of God that expresses consciously and unconsciously his eternal divine existence, directly and indirectly, in one and all states and forms, through their expressions of their very being. The whole process of evolution was an absolutely spontaneous outcome of the original infinite whim surging in the unconscious God to become conscious of his eternal and infinite existence. And paradoxical as it may seem, in the process of evolution, the unconsciousness of God urged the gradual unfoldment of the latent consciousness of God, which consciousness grew greater and greater through a gradual, systematic, and progressive process of gathering and experiencing varied and innumerable impressions through identifying God with varied and innumerable cross forms. So it is that the evolving consciousness of God gives rise to the identification of God with forms and states of forms of higher and higher types. This identification of God, in turn, gives rise to an apparently unending chain of associations and disassociations, or the so called births and deaths, of forms and beings which continue to form and assert and then dwindle away in the nothingness, leaving behind the legacy of impressions which in turn again lead the evolving consciousness of God to identify himself with yet another form molded of the very impressions left behind by the form that dwindle away. Through the process of evolution, the unconscious God did eventually gain full consciousness when the evolved consciousness of God eventually identified God with the human form. But this full consciousness gained was impressioned consciousness and therefore did not make God realize the original infinite state of God. On the contrary, God realized that he is man. Thus, God, after having the original whim of his first word, "Who am I?" at this stage finds himself to be man and experiences the gross world, apparently living in it as a man and quite oblivious of his infinite and eternal existence until he finds the real answer to his first word of "Who am I?" to be "I am God." So it is that the original whim created the nothing, and the impressions or the sanskaras preserved that nothing as the nothingness, that is, the creation and the creatures of creation, and eventually the opposite impressions will ultimately uproot these impressions and destroy that nothingness to give realization of reality. It was the original whim of God that effected in the absolutely independent God the infinite triune attributes of God the Creator, God the Preserver, God the Destroyer, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. It is God's original whim itself that is responsible for bestowing upon God infinite attributes such as the Creator, the Preserver, the Destroyer. These infinite triune attributes of God consistently force assertion through consistent formation, conservation, and dissolution of all things and beings in existence. Even in the everyday life of man and of all creatures in creation, this infinite triune aspect of God consistently appears to assert through consistent births, procreations, maintaining the preservation, and deaths. The original first word, through the original whim of God, created out of the latent nothing, the latent original first impression of who am I, and this original first impression procreated the latent nothingness as the original creation. In turn, the procreation of the nothingness procreates the impressions which continue to preserve the nothingness consistently as the original creation until eventually this nothingness is destroyed by the opposite impressions through the process of reincarnation and involution of consciousness, and the final answer of I am God is obtained to the first word, who am I? It is in accordance with the procreated impressions of the varied individualized conscious assertions of inanimate and inanimate forms and beings that illusion consistently maintains its apparently infinite and varied stand. It is because of this unfailing and apparently unending chain of varied, individualized, procreated impressions that the original creation, originating out of the original whim of God, is consistently preserved, while being concurrently evolved so that every individualized form and being in existence may consciously experience the answers to the first word, who am I? As I am an inanimate thing. I am an animate creature. I am a rational being. I am a man and I am a woman. For example, when God, in the man state, as man, is in sound sleep, and when the time and space, as the day and the universe of the man, have all been apparently destroyed for him, then what is it that every day unfailingly creates his daily morning for him? And again, when the man wakes up every day, then what is it that unfailingly creates for him his universe and all the things that are of it and in it? It is the man's own dormant impressions gathered during the course of the evolution of consciousness and during the process of reincarnation that incite his own dormant consciousness during sound sleep to wake him up inadvertently every day, so that the man's own dormant impressions may have the necessary scope to become exhausted through conscious experiences during his awake state. In this manner, the man's own impressions in the dormant state create for the man his own morning and his own universe every day. Although both the daily morning and the universe of the man were simultaneously created for him by his own dormant impressions, yet both were already handily preserved for him by his own impressions of his life in the everyday awake state, and also through the procreation in his own everyday life of deeper and deeper impressions or sanskaras of the already existing illusion or of the original creation which sprang from the original whim of God. Eventually, both the morning or the day and the universe of that man are destroyed by the man's own opposite impressions experienced in his sleep state, which are diametrically opposite to the impressions of his awake state. Hence, in regular unfailing succession, God, in the man state as man, consistently asserts himself. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to read the last sentence of the previous paragraph to clearly
Okay.
understand that.
Eventually, both the morning or the day and the universe of that man are destroyed by the man's own opposite impressions experienced in his sleep state, which are diametrically opposite to the impressions of his awake state.
So experienced in his deep state, that is
Yeah.
the catch there. So do we experience anything in the deep state, deep sleep state?
Deep sleep state. Eventually, both morning and sleep state. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That is, we have to maybe after some more reading, we'll get to that.
Correct.
Okay.
Hence,
I think in the sleep state, you have to look at two aspects. One is the dream state during sleep, and the other is the sound sleep state.
mhm,
So, in the dream state, also, the sanskaric impressions from the subconscious, they also get activated.
correct. But then in the sleeps, oh, so you're talking about that state of sleep.
Correct. So,
Correct.
you have two states, waking state
Correct.
and sleep state. Under sleep state, you have two parts, sound sleep and dream state.
Correct.
So, he's referring to the dream state when you
Dream
are
state
asleep.
where the impressions are active and
Yeah.
working out.
So, that sentence might need to be tweaked a little bit. Yeah.
Impressions are working out. That's a good way of putting it. They're working out all the time. Hence,
All the time. Now, also, it's getting. At least we are thinking about Baba, so that's it.
yeah, they're on the treadmill all the time, the impressions.
Maybe we should just keep reading, keep this sabbatical going forever.
Absolutely, man. Okay, so I'll continue. Hence, in regular unfailing succession, God, in the man state as man, consistently asserts himself as the creator of his own creation through the dormant impressions of man, as the preserver of his own creation through the man's leading the everyday life in the awake state, procreating the impressions of creation, and as the destroyer of his own creation through the opposite impressions of man when he falls asleep and ultimately passes away in the sound sleep state. This is the second reference to where he's actually using the word passes away when he's referring to person, the human being going to the sound sleep state. Every day, finally destroying the very creation as individualized by his consciousness, man once again creates, preserves, and destroys the whole creation through the play of impressions. Even through the very being of everything and of every creature, God consistently asserts his infinite triune attributes as the creator, preserver, and the destroyer. As in the nature of the man state, so also in the nature of every state of God, God consistently asserts directly and indirectly, apparently and really, his infinite triune attributes of creator, preserver, and destroyer at one and the same time. Even in the very pulsation of the heart and in the functioning of the lungs, the three aspects of the infinite triune attributes never fail to assert. With every pulsation of the heart expands, relaxes in the refractory period, and contracts, simultaneously heralding the advent of the birth of a being on the one hand and sustaining the life of the being on the other hand, and finally, with the eventual and final contraction leading to the physical death of the being. Thus, it is that the triune attributes of God, as God the Creator, God the Preserver, and God the Destroyer, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, or Shiva, assert independently as well as simultaneously in all things and in every creature and in all beings, in every state of God, at every stage in the evolution of consciousness, and on every plane in the involution of consciousness until eventually the original cosmic creation, having sustained the ages, cycles, and periods, and being preserved by the play of cosmic impressions, is finally destroyed by the play of cosmic opposite impressions of God. This final destruction is generally known as Mahapralaya, meaning the greatest of the great event of absorption, when the whole cosmic creation as nothingness is absorbed infinitely by the everything.
I want to make a comment here.
Sure.
The previous paragraph where he talks about breathing,
Yeah, the heart.
one of my insights has been, when you go further in the book, Baba will be talking about birth and death. There is only one birth and one death. The one birth is when basically we create duality. When the most original whim, when the first impression happens and creates duality, that is the birth of separateness. So that is the real birth. And the real death is when we have Manonash, that is getting over duality, when you become self realized or you attain nirvana. So, whatever is happening in between the 84 lakh lives or the 50 crore reincarnation through all the different species. So, basically, you can look at this whole birth and death in a very micro and macro level as every inhalation, retention, exhalation. One breathing cycle is almost like a birth and death. Creation is inhalation, uh, retention is preservation, and exhalation is like dissolution. That is one way of looking at it. So every breathing cycle, because we are alive, the gross body is alive because of our breathing. If there is no breathing, we don't exist. So it is one form of, on a micro level basis of uh, almost every breathing cycle, we are being born, we are being preserved, and we die. The second way of looking at it is each day, when we get up in the morning, is creation. Now we are awake. This is preservation. And when we go to sleep, that is dissolution. So again, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. The third aspect is again this whole life cycle of 84 years, birth, school, work, death. So that is again a creation, preservation, dissolution. And then we take another birth. So that is why when you go into deep into Vedanta and all that, they don't look at reincarnation only, they only look at the self. So that is something I just wanted to point out.
What do you mean by saying in Vedanta they don't look at birth, they don't look at reincarnation?
Even in God Speaks, Baba actually in the end concludes that all these birth and death is just like when we get up in the morning and have a shower and wear new clothes. That is one form of actually having a rebirth every day. And again, when we actually die, when we drop our gross body and we take another incarnation, that is again equivalent to actually what we do daily. Like when we go to sleep and get up in the morning and change clothes. So it says that we change bodies. We have a new body as a male or a female in every new birth. So all these births and deaths are just imaginary. So the only reality is that first real birth, which is during the Big Bang or the home point, the whim. And then the real death is when we completely go to the seventh plane. So I don't know whether I made it clear.
You made it clear,
So
but I'm having one
these
struggle.
these are allegories. So basically, remember that this waking state is also a waking dream, correct? If you
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
if you
Correct.
understand this point, the waking dream is because if we identify with the gross, subtle, and mental body,
Mm-hmm.
and we get caught up in creation, then we are attached, and then you can believe in reincarnation. Okay, when you
Ah,
identify with the bodies, so that definitely implies that we have reincarnation and birth and death. But if you don't attach yourself or identify with your body or get caught up in creation, and you understand that this is only a divine dream of God, and you at the Atma, like what you call as Jiva Atma, who wants to become Shiva Atma, like. So the Jiva Atma is going through all these different sanskaras and evolution. And ultimately, when it unites with the oversoul or Paramatma, then you become Shiva Atma, basically. So I think in this chapter, as you see, instead of the soul, as Tushar had pointed out earlier, uh, Baba has taken the name of God instead of the Atma.
God.
correct.
Yes, Atma drop souls is a subset of the Paramatma. All the cumulative drop souls make an ocean, oversoul. So there is no difference between Atma and Paramatma, except Paramatma is infinite consciousness, and Atma is that infinite unconsciousness which is going through this whole evolution, reincarnation, involution process.
Good.
I know it's a little bit, it's a very heavy stuff,
Ah,
but this is my understanding.
No, no,
This
I
is
think
what
it was. Go ahead.
what is constant is the capital S self.
Yes.
So capital S self with the Vim and Mahapralaya has a play of all this game.
Correct.
So it is only the self and that is constant. So there is even no birth and death in self, capital self.
Absolutely.
It is there. That's all.
Existence is always there. It's
Is
the
there.
white movie
So
screen, the allegory. Yeah.
Correct. So I have one faint nagging question. I don't think it's important, but it's nagging, so I'll ask it. So the ocean is there, and then the Vim appears. So how many drops or how many bubbles came out of the ocean? Is that
Imagine the ocean. What we have, the 70% of the earth is the ocean,
water and
right?
oceans? Yeah.
How much water gets evaporated is equivalent to the number of souls or atmas. You can look at it that way. The raindrops, the evaporation of water from the ocean, and then that becomes raindrop. So each raindrop you can consider as a drop soul or atma, jivatma.
So it's
Okay.
almost countless, but they are independent of each other as they drop down and then merge in the ocean. Then it becomes
Rain and
Yes. Imagine the raindrop that falls from the clouds. The water is pure, but soon as it hits the earth, it collects impurities, the debris. So imagine the debris or impurities as sanskaras, and it's going through a
samskara.
filtration process.
correct. And it
So
merges with the whole.
ocean, because all the water anyway, the river. See, it all starts with the mountain wherever the river originates. It's a small stream, and then it actually all the water, all the rivers join the ocean.
Correct.
So all the raindrops, all the souls are moving towards the oversoul. Like what we are doing right now by reading this, I almost call it like the ball game theory. If you want to play a sport or game, a physical sport like basketball, football, baseball, or a mental sport like chess, poker, bridge, you have to know the rules of the game.
Correct.
The rules of the game are common to everybody, that I call right knowledge 1%, but 99% is perspiration, practice, practice, practice. And how each player plays the game is unique. So that's what we are doing. Basically, Baba has given us the right knowledge, which I call self
So we are
knowledge.
figuring out the 1% now, and then we have to put the 99%
Yes,
perspiration.
99% is the self action, self actualization, which is the action of thoughts, words, and deeds. That's it. See, all human beings, when they wake up in the morning, are only doing two kinds of action: intelligent action or unintelligent action. And intelligent action is unwinding sanskaras, and unintelligent action is spending sanskaras. Because there is no more winding sanskaras when you're a human being.
Correct.
So, only thing we are doing is basically, if you are self aware, then you will be doing intelligent action and unwinding sanskaras. And self awareness will only come when you have self knowledge. And this is what God speaks and discourses is helping us to do. So, this is the real challenge.
Correct. And from that emerges your passion of trying to do this at the earliest point in a human being's life.
Correct.
Go after the youth. This
Be on the
1%
fast track.
needs the 1% knowledge needs to be exposed to the youth, to the youngsters, at school
Absolutely.
and college. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Sunil, Namita, Tushar, mute.
Yes. Listening. Very good.
Absorbing.
Thanks for connecting it to real life. This is what I was looking for. Yeah.
Correct.
For me, the three cycles of birth, the breathing cycle, that was
Yeah.
my aha moment today.
Yeah,
So
that was very
yeah,
nice.
it was really good, really good. It's opened my eye to. I think I'm almost on seventh plane now. I like it. I'll read it again.
Sure.
I liked it a lot, and connecting, and as Sunil just said, connecting it to us, it makes it stay better because we haven't read this before. So it's very, very meaningful, and it leapfrogs growth,
True.
and that's nice. Yeah.
Good.
And the
I
other,
think one piece of advice. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, one piece of advice I have is that everything we read about Baba, what we should do is we should connect it to our practical material life. You know, that is the key, is to be able to look at how our practical day-to-day material life is and see whether it connects to Baba's messages. That's it. And the
Exactly.
second part is about second part I just wanted to mention. I mean, we all know this consciously or unconsciously. See, we are, like Descartes said, that we are what we think. But I believe that we are how we breathe. So if you really look at it, when we are born, the first thing that happens is we start breathing. And breathing goes on 24/7, 365 days for 84 years of your life, 24 hours. And the last thing we drop our body is the breath stops. So breathing is almost like the realized self, which is always there behind watching when you are in deep sleep, dream sleep, or in waking state. Thinking only happens during the waking state. And so interestingly, thinking is only of the past and the future, never of the present, whereas breathing is only of the present. So once we transition or transcend from thinking to breathing, that is why yesterday or the day before yesterday, when I mentioned to Sunil that if we take 5 minutes every hour, whenever possible, and just close our eyes and focus on our breath, that itself is self-awareness, and you're in the seventh plane. Then you're a human being. You're already there. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
तुषार जी क्या हो गया? Silence.
No, I think I'm not able to rationalize or articulate, so I'll keep mum. Because my ideas, I don't want to put my ideas into Baba's ideas.
Yeah.
So I will remain quiet until the whole reading is done.
No, but you need not bring up your ideas, but beat us up.
No, I
We
think
like your involvement.
Yes.
Maybe somebody has an answer to your question, Tushar.
Sorry, yeah.
Actually, I had an answer to his
if
question
you
while I
ask,
was praying in the morning.
You had an answer to Namita. You said something.
His observation yesterday, when I was praying in the morning, and in one of the prayers, I don't know which one I was reading, it says that the intellect is not big enough to understand this. You have to do it through your heart. So if you keep it aside, your intellect, and just, I don't know as much. I haven't read this much, but this is the message I got when I was reciting Baba's prayer.
it is what I said, concentrate on your intuition, not on your mind.
Intellect.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Intuition is beyond the mind. Now you understand the difference between intelligence and intellect. Okay?
Yes.
You have to be using your intelligence, not your intellect. Intellect is within the mind, intelligence is from the beyond. And with respect to breathing, we breathe in and breathe out. There is one more channel which is connected while breathing with the Supreme. Okay, that's known as Sushumna. I don't know if you've heard of it. Invisible channel. And that's the channel we are connected with the Supreme.
So I think
Merely Ida and Pingala. It's not merely Ida and Pingala.
Correct.
Mama can
That's
explain
what
this
some of these people, some of these masters refer to as the cord, right? The cord that connects you.
The channel, invisible channel.
Yeah.
It's connected to the 7 chakras also.
Correct.
Yes. That is the ultimate, beyond all the chakras.
Mama has read all this. He can explain better, I think, than me.
Mama needs some time to crystallize and then put it across.
Yeah. Please do that sometime.
Sure.
Okay.
Chalo. Okay then. Have a great day, everybody.
Jai Baba.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.